Welcome to today's 5-minute Bible study in the book of 1 Timothy. Today we're looking at 1 Timothy chapter 3, verses 8 through 15. Now Paul is continuing his instruction to Timothy on the qualifications for ministry in the early church. Yesterday we looked at the qualifications for the bishop. You remember bishop or elder is the first order of ministry in the church. The bishop or the elder was the chief pastor, the shepherd of the congregation, the one who taught the gospel, proclaimed the good news of Christ, and led the church. But along with the bishops, the elders, were the deacons, another order of ministry in the church. They would assist the elders, they would assist the bishops to carry forward the ministry, the service, the teaching of the congregation. And so the qualifications for deacon are just as important as those for elder or for bishop. So let's see what Paul says about the qualifications to be a deacon in the early church, beginning at verse 8. In the same way as I've told you what the qualifications for bishop are, in the same way deacons must be worthy of respect, sincere, not indulging in much wine, not pursuing dishonest gain. They must keep hold of the deep truth of the faith with a clear conscience. They must first be tested, and then, if there is nothing against them, let them serve as deacons. In the same way, the women are to be worthy of respect, not malicious talkers, but temperate and trustworthy in everything. A deacon must be faithful to his wife and must manage his children and his household well. Those who have served well gain an excellent standing and great assurance in their faith in Christ Jesus. Now, as we read these qualifications for deacon, we see there's a lot of overlap, is there not, between the qualifications for deacon and the qualifications for bishop or elder. And we understand that would be the case. Both of these are ministry orders in the life of the church. Both of them exercise spiritual leadership, and therefore they must exhibit the character of deep Christianity. There must be true Christ-like spirit about them that is evident to all who know them and who see them. They're not to be seeking gain. They're not to be involved in the abuse of wine or alcohol, but they are to be temperate and solid in their faith. They are to be sterling in their character. Notice also with the deacons, it says in verse 9, they must keep hold of the deep truths of the faith with a clear conscience. In other words, they must know the doctrine of the church. They must have clear understanding of the heart of Christianity. The way we would say it today is they must be biblical in their faith, and they must stand on biblical truth and be prepared to defend biblical truth. Deacons, as well as elders or bishops, must be biblical through and through and must stand for the truth of the Bible, teach it and defend it. That's the way they lead the church. Now notice the interesting comment in verse 11, in the midst of this discussion of deacons, Paul says, now in the same way, the women are to be worthy of respect. What is this about? It seems pretty clear that women could be deacons as well as men. You remember when we were talking about the end of chapter 2 and all of Paul's instructions on women in the church, we saw that he was really talking about equality in the church. And now he's made it clear again that women could serve in a ministry or they could serve as deacons in the church. Sometimes we've used the word deaconess to express this ministry. So when a woman is a deacon, we call her a deaconess, but it's the same order, it's the same ministry. So both men and women are serving in spiritual leadership in the church. Now, as Paul sort of wraps up his list of the qualifications for spiritual leadership for both elders and for deacons, he gives this closing comment in verse 13. He says, those who have served well as elders or deacons, they gain an excellent standing. They're doing an excellent work for the church and a great assurance in their faith in Christ Jesus. In other words, these leaders in the church are well grounded in faith in Christ, and they have a great standing because they help us all. They help us all by their leadership to stay strong in Christ. Indeed, it's so important that in the church, our leadership be sterling in their commitment to Jesus and lead us deeper and deeper in Christ. We must choose well when we're choosing those to lead us in the church. When we're choosing elders and choosing deacons. These are the people who lead us deeper in Christ, and they must be committed to that very cause. Hope you join us for our next session in our Bible study of 1 Timothy. He's got some other things he wants to say about life in the church, and so continue with us and join us for our next time in our 5-minute Bible study in the book of 1 Timothy.